You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, or by asking Alexa or Google Home, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
Of course, we save the best for last as far as the last day at the ACC kickoff with the head football coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies, Brent Pry, helping us kick off today's edition of the Fast Lane. Brent, a pleasure to be speaking with you. This is a season for Virginia Tech with high expectations, fourth year for you. There's also a lot of new faces at Virginia Tech, particularly amongst the coaching staff. Some of them expected, some of them not. We'll get to that individually right now. People think of the coordinators, Sam Siefkas defense, Philip Montgomery offense. But is Jarrett Ferguson from our backyard, Stanton River High School product, is he the most important addition that you guys have had this offseason, player or coach?
In the offseason, absolutely. You know, when we identified some weaknesses to our team last year and areas we need to grow, if you want to be a tougher and more physical team, mentally, physically, that starts in the offseason. And it starts in that strength and conditioning arena. I know what Jarrett Ferguson's all about. I was here when he walked on, earned a scholarship, became a captain. And, that's who he is. And he's got tremendous respect from our coaches and players. And it was an easy choice to have him lead the department. And at this point, I'm very pleased with the way our offseason's gone.
When you're looking for coaches, how much value is there for players like Jarrett Ferguson who have taken on multiple roles, oftentimes not the most glamorous roles, and have had to, if I'm phrasing this wrong, please correct me, find the hidden edges for how to maximize their talents?
Yeah, I mean, Jarrett is the guy that's going to hold the kids accountable. He's walked in their shoes, so he's not asking them to do anything he hasn't done. And he's very intelligent with the knowledge surrounding strength and conditioning. You know, where can we optimize things in the off season so that when we hit preseason camp, we can practice the way we need to. We can stay healthy the way we need to. We can get the amount of reps that we need to get to prepare us for the season. Along with that, culturally, the foundation of who we are is also started in the off season. When we came back from Christmas break, it was on. This is a new team. This is a new way. This is a new, so all the things that I want for our program, Jarrett certainly reinforces, he and his staff.
How big was that culturally, especially given that it took a while to find out your defensive coordinator? There was an unexpected change in offensive coordinator, and you've got a lot of players that are around the program, but maybe needing more direction and support than they would normally need, just given they're not quite sure how they're going to be used.
Yeah, there was some challenging time there. Anytime there's transition, it can be difficult. But we have a close group, and with this particular team, we have some strong leaders. Kelvin Gilliam, Kyron Drones, Jaden Keller. I mean, these guys, they're wired the right way. They love Virginia Tech. They're here for the right reasons. They're well respected by their peers. And they're in a position of leadership now, and they're doing a heck of a job with it.
Brent Pry, Virginia Tech Hokies head football coach, hanging out with us at the ACC kickoff in the Fast Lane, saving the best for the last day, of course.
Amen, brother. Thank you.
Why not? No bias there, as we're the home of the Hokies on VTRN Sports in Lynchburg and Talk Radio 106.3 in the Gretna Southside area. And a lot of that's presented by your friends at the Sheeler Motor Mile as well.
Those guys have been awesome to me, man. Do a bunch of commercials for them, and they supply me with my dealer car, drive a nice ride, and, all thanks to those guys out there at Sheeler.
We'll be hearing a lot of you then this coming season.
Absolutely.
You mentioned your ride. What's your ideal ride? What do you love riding?
That's a great question because, you get to a position at ultimately in your career where you can probably drive whatever you want, right? And it's a Tahoe high country. I love them. I've been driving Tahoes for years. And, David Hagan and the guys put me in a new one each year that is decked out and beautiful. And I'm more than happy with it and appreciative of it.
Well, you get to drive a Tahoe from Sheeler Motor Mile. They're proud partners of ours at the Virginia Talk Radio Network and our broadcast on two different stations of Virginia Tech football, and Brent Pry is the head football coach. You'll hear him on ads this coming season for Sheeler Motor Mile. Is that correct, by the way?
Oh, it's TV commercials. Yeah, we did 6 of them.
Wow. Well, he'll be all over the place. Brent Pry is, and you're getting a first dose of him today in the fast lane. Brent, first dose, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. We mentioned the role of Jarrett Ferguson kind of helping tie this team together during that transition. Starting defensively, did you come to the conclusion around the same time when you're like, hey, we need a new direction, let's go with Jarrett Ferguson? Did you come to the same time frame conclusion about making changes to the defensive staff and going from Chris Marv to Sam Cephas?
Yeah, never an easy thing to do. The transition to change is tough, and I love Chris. I love his family, and I'm always going to pull for him. But what was best for our defense at that time was to make a change. And I wanted to find somebody that would have a grasp of things, much like I did when we were playing our best at Penn State defensively, where you know the ins and outs, you know, you've got the answers, you've got the, you know where the weaknesses are. And Sam has a really high football IQ. He's very thorough. He's been around great people, great coaches, and he's had tremendous success at the college level as a play caller. And, after a 6-hour interview, it was very apparent to me who we needed to hire.
How has that challenged you as a coach to step out of your comfort zone, especially given that it seems Sam Cephas' one of his greatest strengths is the ability to have multiple schemes and teach multiple schemes?
Yeah, honestly, I had to leave my ego at the door, right? There's more than one way to play good defense. And there'll be certain things that, we've carried forth from our previous package, and there'll be some new things, clearly. But there were some things we wanted to do directionally, whether it was Chris Marv at the helm or Sam. We were going to do some things a little different. And I'm very excited about what we're shaping up to be defensively. And I think Sam, he's one of those guys that he's got everything from his NFL years, modeled out. There's a lot of good video, a lot of good, game plan sheets, and our guys just immediately started soaking it up. Everywhere they could, they wanted the knowledge, they wanted to learn it, they wanted to. Sam's a great teacher. The first task was to teach the coaches. That's not easy when you come in as a coordinator, and you've got a bunch of new coaches, that you hadn't worked with. And then we were able to, with the administration support, hire 2 additional coaches that have worked with Sam and worked in his system, which helped. But we're in a much better place. The kids, the staff, we got a good handle on this defense.
Brent Pry, Virginia Tech head football coach in the fast lane. We'll pivot over to the offensive side of the ball with the change, maybe unexpected, to Philip Montgomery as the head coach. When you're looking to replace Tyler Bowen and he takes off for a new opportunity, how much of it was designed with the idea of maximizing what Kyron Drones can do, and Matt Moore, who may be, again, one of those under-the-radar hires as the new O-line coach?
Yeah, I'm excited about both these guys, and clearly Phil has a track record of developing quarterbacks, which was instrumental in this hire. We've got a special player in Kyron, and I want to make sure we give him the best chance to reach all his potential for his sake and for our team's sake. And then obviously Phil's another guy. He's a veteran play caller that has an offense has had tremendous success. He knows it inside and out. He's, it's a well-oiled machine. It gives us the best chance to have chemistry and rhythm offensively, which I thought we lacked last year for the most part.
An interesting way to wrap up our chat with Brent Pry, Virginia Tech head football coach. The scholarship limit has increased. There are a couple of ways to do that. One is the transfer portal part to this. Are you a fan of 2 windows? Would you like 1 window at a particular time? How would you make this the best use?
Yeah, we feel pretty strongly as ACC coaches that we'd like to see it go to 1 portal window. Just makes too much sense for the players and for the teams, for the programs. There's just too much flux right now. You just don't know what your team's going to look like. The development piece is getting lost. So 1 window, preferably in January, would be ideal in my mind.
And then we'll wrap it up with that as well, with the roster changes and how that's gone on a different note. Personally, way back in the day, I called high school football games with a gentleman by the name of Curtis Hairston. His son has gotten one of those scholarships that
Yeah.
is so hard to attain. And people were worried. I know in my audience in particular, would he be part of the program and going forward? How rewarding is it for you to have seen Jarikus Hairston go from being a walk-on to being somebody that's now part of this team in a different capacity?
I love that part of our game. I love to see guys work and earn. And you take a chance as a whole family. You know, you got to go pay the bills and pay tuition and room and board and all that for your son to chase his dream. And for it to work out the way it did, couldn't have been happier for him and his family, and he earned every bit of it.
Well, we're excited to see how it unfolds for him and for the upcoming season. Brent Pry, you'll be hearing his team on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM Lynchburg, and the VTRN Sports app, as well as Talk Radio 106.3 for the Gretna-Danville Southside area. As Brent Pry, the head coach of Virginia Tech, is with us in the Fast Lane. Brent, thank you for your time. It's always great to catch up with you. Wishing you safety and wellness, and most importantly, good health to you and your team this year.
Thanks, brother. As always, good to talk with you.
Brent Pry with us in the Fast Lane. When we return, we'll pivot to players as we return here in the Fast Lane.
The savings are huge at the big summer sales event going on now at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bedford. Save up to $10,400 off MSRP on a new 2025 Ram 1500, or save up to $7,700 off MSRP on a new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Plus, we have over 230 incredible pre-owned vehicles in stock, marked with huge discounts. Don't miss our big summer sales event at Magic City Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Bedford, 1750 Independence Boulevard, MagicCityBedford.com.
Your home is more than just walls and windows. It's where life happens. And at Right Choice Construction, we get that. We're not just builders. We're fathers, mothers, neighbors, just like you. And every nail and every beam reflects our commitment to creating a place you're proud to live in. With Right Choice Construction, you're choosing a team that's been perfecting the art of building for years. So build with us. Build with experience. Build with quality. Build with Right Choice.
Hi, I'm Matt with Fleet Feet Roanoke. I've enjoyed working with Ed Lane and the Virginia Talk Radio Network. But when they sold their Roanoke station, I was skeptical the partnership could still provide value. Months later, I'm thankful that Ed took the time to meet with me, discuss the right solutions, and a plan to invite his audience to Fleet Feet Roanoke. Now we're able to build a connection with that audience thanks to Ed's creativity. Stop by and see us at Fleet Feet Roanoke to learn more. We'd love to get to know you.
Email info@virginiatalkradionetwork.com to start growing your business.
Warm weather means traveling. Hi, I'm Randy Trost from Trost Law with a couple of safety reminders. Always wear your seatbelt. Don't drive distracted or impaired. And remember, it's better to safely arrive a little later than being in an auto accident. Those things can make a big difference between a fun family trip or a painful alternative. At Trost Law, I hope you never need our services, but if you do, we're here to help you at 777-HURT or trostlaw.com.
Gorgeous blue waters, friendly people, the most beautiful island in the world. Getting to the Caribbean is hard, but experiencing it is easy at the Caribbean Jerk Pot. Oh yeah, come enjoy the best taste of the Caribbean with simples like jerk chicken in oxtail, authentic seasoned, hot, mild, spicy as you like. You can order from 1 to 7 p.m. weekdays on DoorDash or Grubhub, or browse the full menu at CaribbeanJerkPot.com and call us to spice up your private event at 434-426-4047. We'll come and bring the Caribbean taste to you.
I lost my 19-year-old son, Johnny, to suicide after he became psychotic from using marijuana, vapes, and dabs. He experienced cannabis-induced psychosis and thought the mob and the FBI were after him. Dabs are products with concentrated, high-potency THC, the chemical in marijuana that gives users the high feeling. One hit on a dab pen today is the same as smoking 50 old-fashioned joints back in the day. Use of THC before the age of 25 causes changes in brain development, a loss of IQ points, and lower motivation. Studies show THC increases the risk of anxiety, depression, and schizophrenia in developing brains. I lost my child, but it's not too late for yours. Educate your teen on the harms of marijuana.
A public service message from the nonprofit Johnny's Ambassadors. Learn the risks and get the facts at johnnysambassadors.org.
Some journeys start small, with small pause and big purpose.
Look how little fly, you sweet girl.
Every great partnership begins with the first step.
Bella, let's go.
Guiding them through the world, so one day they can guide someone through life. With shared experience, confidence grows, and the path becomes clear. It takes time, patience, and love. But the reward lasts a lifetime. You don't just raise a puppy. You raise a future. Become a Dogs Inc. puppy raiser. Give a dog a purpose. Give someone hope.
Learn more at dogsinc.org.
Thank you for listening to VTR in Sports. As an appreciation, we're ready to reward one lucky listener each month with a $100 gift card to InsaneRadioDeals.com. It's simple. Take a photo of how you're listening to your favorite station, then send it to us at info@VirginiaTalkRadioNetwork.com or tag us on Facebook, Twitter, or send us a DM, and you're entered to win. Winner will be announced on the first business day of the following month.
Hey gang, this is Bud Foster, former defensive coordinator for the Virginia Tech Hokies. Join me for Foster and Friends, Saturday 9 to 10 a.m. on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Yes, saving the best for last. At least that's what Virginia Tech would think as we welcome you back into the Fast Lane at the ACC Kickoff. Final day of coverage of that. We'll have more at Fast Lane, Ed Lane, Facebook Live, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts with other conversations. But it's Virginia Tech. It was earlier, Brent Pry. We wrapped up our chat with the head football coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies, talking about the offense. And now, arguably the centerpiece of that offense, Kyron Drones, the quarterback for Virginia Tech, joins us in the Fast Lane. Kyron, we'll go in a totally different direction, though. Scholarship limits and the roster limits that are now more fixated in college football than before. A lot of people are wondering, how's that going to impact walk-ons? How's that going to impact other players? Full disclosure, years ago, I broadcast high school football games in the Martinsville Southside area with a man named Curtis Hairston. His son, as you seemingly know, is now on scholarship, Jarikus Hairston for Virginia Tech. What was that like for you seeing that move for Jarikus being now on a scholarship at Virginia Tech?
It was a good moment. Just seeing that, seeing how hard he worked, seeing the work he put in, and it finally paying off and him earning a scholarship. I know no parent and no child, there's no better moment than that for them. So I was just really excited for him.
And in this day and age especially, I mean, there's so much of a business component nature to the football realm, and not faulting anyone for it, but how much value is there still in a football program, whether it's Jarikus Hairston, whether it's with other players, seeing players that get rewarded internally for putting the work in?
I mean, it's a real thing for players like that. They just living out their childhood dream, wanting to play college football, and then just them putting the work in and day out, just first going to school just to pay for school, and then just be that walk-on on the team that didn't want to get them the scholarship at first, and then just them the work finally paying off and then getting that scholarship. I mean, I can only imagine how good of a moment that feels for them.
Kyron Drones, quarterback, Virginia Tech Hokies, stopping by with us today in the Fast Lane. Kyron, for you in particular, it's been a wild last year or so. The season, from win-loss standpoint, didn't go the way you would have wanted. There were injuries that were there as well. How different are you, and what have you learned from this time when we spoke in 2024 to ACC kickoff starting the 2025 season?
Obviously, I mean, it was unfortunate how last season happened, but I'm not really focused on that. Last season was last season. It's a whole new team, whole new identity for us right now. I mean, I feel like I learned from lessons from those games that we lost, a lot of one-score games that didn't go our way. And as a team right now, we're willing to say that if we get back in those close games, we're going to finish this time. We're not going to be conservative. We're not going to take our foot off the neck, and then we're just going to go kill, and then that's our mentality moving forward. And then injury-wise, I feel good. I just had a small procedure done. If I had to go play again tomorrow, I'll be perfectly fine. And I just was working in rehab that hard to get back ASAP, and it paid off thanks to our medical staff and just everybody that worked with me, and I'm in a perfect position right now.
You mentioned so many things: finishing games strong, being in the right frame physically, which I would imagine leads to the right mental space for you as well, Kyron. What's the role been of, again, in our backyard, Jarrett Ferguson, former Stanton River Golden Eagle? He's now the strength and conditioning coach. What role has he played in helping get you and your teammates to where you can finish those games and you can have the strength to stay steady and be healthy over the season?
Oh, he played a tremendous role. Everybody loves Coach Ferg. Everybody respects Coach Ferg, and just the workouts that he has for us, it makes you really mentally tough. It makes everybody come together. Everybody we have to finish those workouts for each other. We playing for each other. You have to love the brother next to you and willing to do everything and put everything on the line to go win that game. And he's just teaching us those moments in the workouts that he's putting in, giving everybody confidence in the way their body look now. Everybody PRs are bigger, stronger, bigger, faster, and stronger. It's just a lot of good things coming from Coach Ferg, and that's what we expected when he got the job.
You have had different strength coaches now at Virginia Tech. You've all different ones back to your time at Baylor, and obviously you've got friends at different programs in college football. What value is there when a strength coach is barking at you, putting these hard workouts together day after day, and it feels like a grind, knowing that that particular strength coach, at least Jarrett Ferguson, has played the game and you would presume knows that, hey, these workouts can get you through a game because I've lived it?
Yeah, I mean, he always talked about the workouts they used to do back in the day. So him just putting us through those workouts now, I mean, obviously back in his time, Virginia Tech was one of those teams to beat. Everybody looked forward to beating Virginia Tech or playing against Virginia Tech. So I have no issues with the workouts he's doing now. Everybody just want more. Like by the time, like right now, we willing to go die in there and workouts each and every day and still ask for more. Like that's the type of team we got. That's the type of team he created us to be. And I really feel like it all starts with your strength coach. Your strength coach really sets the tone of how the next season really is going to be. He just got to get you ready, and then we got to go out there and play the game.
Was there an extra importance for you, Kyron Drones, and for your Virginia Tech teammates in terms of the role of Jarrett Ferguson when you went through the offensive coordinator change and you're not sure the direction the offense is going to be going?
What do you mean by that question?
In terms of, you make the change from Tyler Bowen to Philip Montgomery, and there's a period in there where you're not quite sure where things are going to go, and I would imagine it's helpful to have somebody in there that can keep you going and keep you mentally locked in.
Oh, yeah. Coach Ferg kept me locked in a lot. I mean, I had a lot of talks with him when that change happened when Coach Bowen left. I mean, wish him all the best, but by the time when we didn't know what OC we were going to get, and then by the time we got Coach Monty, I was talking to Coach Ferg a lot. He knew what I was going through. He knew how I felt about everything, and I just really thank him for helping me through the whole process. But having Coach Monty, I'm really excited. He builds a lot of confidence in his offense, and I can't really wait to showcase that.
What role were you able to play in terms of connecting with Philip Montgomery and having an inside track on whether he would be the coach at Virginia Tech and the potential he could bring to help this offense get to where you would like to be?
I mean, as soon as he got to campus, he made it a priority to really get to know me, but I was already going to do that anyway. We just met each other in the middle. I took him out to dinner. He took me out to dinner. We got to know each other, know what we like, know what we don't like, what we look forward to, what we don't look forward to, and then we just really know each other. I mean, I already knew him because he offered me out of high school, and he a Texas guy, so I already knew and heard things about him, so I already knew what to expect. But just how our relationship is now, I really love Coach Monty and everything he's done so far. Even though I only know him since February, I feel like I know him longer than that.
Well, I'd imagine, too, the value of having had a relationship or at least a knowledge of him from your prior recruiting past as well.
Yeah, it really helped a lot. Just him offering me out of high school and then coming back and wanting this job to coach me again, that really speaks volumes to me. Like, you really want me as your quarterback, and I wouldn't want no other OC.
Kyron Jones with us here in the fast lane. Kyron, a couple more. Matt Moore, offensive line coach, has come in there. It seems like there are a lot of moving parts. He's trying to get the right combination in place. What have you noticed about his approach and the confidence you have in him to get the right line in place for that 31st of August game against South Carolina?
That he's just going to provide a lot of depth in the O-line. You could tell a huge difference from when he was there and when he wasn't there. Just the O-line is a better job all around. They set the standard high, and they want to get to that standard each and every day. He expects that standard each and every day, and you can see that in how the O-line work, whether that's with extra meetings outside the meetings we do now, extra workouts outside than what we do now. Coach Moore expects a lot out of the O-line, and I really like that for me and the O-line. I mean, all you need is depth. If you have an injury, the next guy up, and it can't be a drop off like there was last year. So it's a really good thing.
Sounds like there's a lot of expectations and almost internal drive with coaches, with you as players. Is that something that needs to be said as far as the pressure and expectations for this season, or is that something that's kind of been established since the end of last year?
I mean, it's kind of been established. I wouldn't say it's a lot of pressure. I mean, we have a lot of doubters right now, and I really like being on that side of that because I rather be the underdog. But we have a lot to prove. We know that, and I'm really excited for how we're going to show up August 31st and be ready to show people that we're not the team to be slept on.
Game you'll be able to hear 1 p.m. VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports. South Carolina and Virginia Tech from Atlanta for the season opener. The man who, good Lord willing, will be healthy and under center or in the shotgun to start off the offensive drives for Virginia Tech. Kyron Drones with us in the fast lane. Kyron, thank you for your time chatting today. We greatly appreciate it, and wishing you wellness and health this upcoming season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, of course, that noise you hear, the fumbling of the headset as we go from quarterback Kyron Drones to a man whose job is to make life hell on a quarterback. You seem prideful when we say that, Kelvin.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Of course you should. Kelvin Gilliam as the defensive tackle for the Virginia Tech Hokies, and with us here in the fast lane. From last year to this year, there is a lot of change at Virginia Tech. Schematically with Sam Siefkas, multiple is kind of the phrase that's been used to describe his approach and his outlook. How much of an emphasis has that changed for you in terms of your conditioning and being prepared for different positions on the defensive line?
Yeah, so for him, talking about Coach Siefkas, I mean, he does a great job since he's been here. I mean, he's come in, all he wants us to do is have some success with this year. He knows what type of situations we walking through, and Coach Pride has done an amazing job. He hit a home run hire. So for him, he's going to, like I said, he's going to call things to our strengths, wherever it is. I mean, to D-line strengths, to the linebacker strengths, to the back seven strengths. And, he's done a great job, since day one, saying that, like you said, we're going to be multiple. We're going to do all these other things, but he's going to do a great job as making sure that he's calling the right plays for the right scheme.
Kelvin Gilliam, defensive tackle. Is that what we should call you now, or should it be defensive lineman?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be D lineman, D tackle. It doesn't matter.
How has that changed you in terms of what Jarrett Ferguson has put on you as the strength and conditioning coach, and weight change, I would imagine, all of that?
Yeah, Coach Ferguson, man, that's my dog, man. I mean, he's a guy that just wants the best out of you. He holds me to a high standard, and he'll let you know if I'm not meeting that standard day in and day out. I mean, the mentality that he has, and the thing about Coach Ferguson, he embodies what Virginia Tech is, blue collar, family man, just a great man at life. And so I'm really blessed to have him in the position that he is, because he's deserved it. He deserved it for a while ago. And so, I'm just blessed to have him on me, because he's going to be one of the reasons why Virginia Tech gets put back on the map.
What are ways that Jarrett Ferguson, by the way, our fans love him because he's from Stanton River High School and in our footprint, which is why we're asking a lot about him.
Yeah.
What ways has he held you accountable that maybe was not there previously?
So, definitely, with the strength and conditioning, I mean, he's looking for reps. He's looking, I'll go, let's say I'm going to put a lot of weight on. He'll be like, you sure you could do that much? Because he know how to get in my head, because he know I'm not going to let nobody outdo me. And so, especially, just going through weights, me and him go back and forth. Let's say I'm picking up, 120 dumbbells, 130 dumbbells. I'll make sure I find him and be like, you done this much before? Just stuff like that, because, he knows the type of guy I am. I know what type of guy he is. He knows how to get me going. He knows that he's the guy that can cuss me out, do all this other stuff, because we talk much on a deeper level than just football before.
So it changes the dynamic of you and everyone else around you as well. How has that helped you become a better leader?
Help become a better leader as far as, taking the mentality from Coach Ferguson. I mean, he's a guy that I'm going to take charge, guy. If something ain't right, I'm going to call it out on it. And so, he's just been, really good, not just for football, but for life as a fact. He's a guy that you want somebody to go get something out of life, then go get it. He also showed me that in this world, it's all a lot of talking, man. I'm talking right now, but don't never just say what you're about to do. Just go do it. That's the one of the message I could take from Coach Ferguson.
Kelvin Gilliam, defensive lineman, Virginia Tech Hokies, stopping by with us today in the Fast Lane. Kelvin, great to chat with you. Thank you so much for your insight into Virginia Tech this upcoming season. We wish you and your teammates best of luck and, more importantly, best of health.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
It's Kelvin Gilliam, defensive tackle for the Virginia Tech Hokies, with us here in the Fast Lane. And just another pivot off of Virginia Tech for a bit. I know we're not going to beat the whole Bill Belichick thing over the story with the dead head. But I have one media member here who has been coming to this for multiple decades. And one of the things he said about Thursday's appearance by Bill Belichick at the ACC kickoff, in addition to what we covered yesterday in the Fast Lane about how there was enhanced security and there was all sorts of extra attention around Bill Belichick, and you could literally feel the room with a different level of aura and edge when he was present versus when he was not present. And again, none of this, I think, impacts whether Carolina is going to win or not. And in New England, it's not going to here in college sports. And the reality being, just the interesting angle is, it's the first time that this person could recall in decades of attending these events that a coach just flat out blew off the whole Radio Row press media experience. That is the interesting part about Bill Belichick at North Carolina. But no, I don't think it'll matter a ton. And I mean, if anything, North Carolina, there's the comment that people have said is, as a school, they carry themselves to a different standard. They kind of view themselves in this pinky out elitist mentality that's been real. And people have joked about that with the University of Virginia as well. In true form, Virginia being different, more the of academic superiority, whereas North Carolina, it's the cultural, I think, component to it. But it's not far-fetched in college sports. There are programs that have carried themselves that way. I don't think anybody's going to mistake like Alabama as being or LSU as being like academically superior, but they are programs that have certainly held themselves to a different standard in terms of how they brand themselves from a football standpoint. I think it's also worth noting and worth considering on top of that North Carolina, the reports are out that they are as desired as Clemson to get out of the ACC in 2030, and they're looking at options, and the SEC is apparently their preferred choice. I'll just throw this out there because the vibe that I've gotten speaking with so many people here at the ACC kickoff, and a lot of them are sports business type people, is that it may be we want to leave the ACC for the SEC. Is it really going to be that, or is it just going to be one large football super conference when we get to 2030? Because realistically, that's the goal, I think, for a lot of the TV networks, is they see certain brands. And I do think Carolina's in this grouping. I think Clemson, Miami, Florida State are in there. There may be some others in the ACC that you can make a case, Louisville, SMU, Virginia Tech, and others. But I think there's a cluster of programs that have that type of brand cachet and appeal. And then frankly, there's a lot that don't. And it's not hard to figure it out from being here at the ACC kickoff that some of them, it's more the academic side of things where they talk the academic game, but it's just not backed up in terms of either the large alumni fan bases or the large base of people that are ready to support those particular programs and invite people to their games and to their events to be an audience member, or particularly on some kind of trackable visual platform that then can be used by these networks and by these media properties to sell to advertisers to get as much of what is a more consolidated advertising pie than has ever been the case before. And I think all that goes into mind that, I think there's an elitism to North Carolina. I don't think it has any impact at all on whether they win football games or not, or even the ability to attract and retain talent. Most of those people care about what you can do to help me win now and what you can do to help me become the best professional player and maximize my earning over a period of time. And some of them, academics are a priority. In North Carolina, they do have that as well. But it doesn't mean it's not an interesting observation that is at least worth taking from the ACC kickoff. When we return in the Fast Lane, speaking of interesting observations, we will touch on some of those, including whether my observation from earlier in the week on Jim Phillips, the commissioner, is spot on or totally off base. Ryan McGee will weigh in on that. Plus, I can't wait to ask him. We'll talk NASCAR as well with him. The in-season tournament, because they've got Ty Dillon. Our guy Mike Neff of FrenchStretch.com thinks that Ty Dillon is going to win the NASCAR in-season tournament in spite of Joe Gibbs Racing having Ty Gibbs. And he thinks Ty Dillon doesn't even need Gibbs to have some kind of engine issue or mechanical failure or be involved in an accident. He thinks Ty Dillon can just do it straight up. Is that what Ryan McGee believes? Find out when we ask him next in the Fast Lane. Plus, get his thoughts on the captivating Dale Earnhardt 4-part documentary series. All of that when we return here in the Fast Lane VTRN Sports app. Ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports. And if you want to be hip, Fastlane, Ed Lane, and VTRN Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube.
Savings are heating up, and so are the summer super deals at the used car superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile. You don't need super strength to get approved for credit. Sheeler owns the finance company. Getting approved for credit is super easy on the Motor Mile with financing options for every budget. Sheeler makes car buying easy with the hottest brands all in one location. Cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Many have miles in the teens, remaining factory warranties, and some are even local one-owner vehicles. Over 900 used vehicles in stock now and ready to move. More than any other dealer in the area, plus exceptional service, selection, and savings. Need some summer spending cash? Sheeler will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy from us. Plus super money for your trade. Volume selling means volume pricing, and we've got the volume with over 900 used vehicles in stock now. No games, no gimmicks, just summer super deals at the used car superstore on the Sheeler Motor Mile, your premier used car dealer, locally owned for over 50 years. ID1 exit 118C in Christiansburg. Call 866-SHEELER1. Always open at Sheeler.com.
Have you looked at your home's exterior lately? Do you see faded siding, paint peeling, and wood rotting? Windows that are impossible to open and close and gutters falling off? Call Collins Siding and Windows to transform your home's exterior and save you money on energy costs. Dreaming of a new porch or sunroom? Collins can do that too. Since 1989, Collins Siding and Windows has been transforming homes in Central Virginia. Roofs, windows, siding, gutters, porches, decks, and sunrooms. They can do it all. Call Collins Siding and Windows today, 434-525-6307.
This fall, Saturdays belong to the Hokies.
Oh, and these Hokie fans are going crazy here in College Town, USA.
Lane Stadium, electrifying, iconic, the best in college football.
Oh, you'd have to be here to believe it.
Built by tradition and fueled by passion.
Breaks free at the 10, to the 5, touchdown Tech.
Where every roar and every cheer brings you home. Are you ready to start jumping? Tickets on sale now. Visit Hokiesports.com.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
It's a couple months past May the 4th, but I'm only bringing that up as we wrap up the Fast Lane because we've got Star Wars rings. We've got Star Wars phone cases.
It's always May the 4th in my house.
May the 4th be with you.
That's right.
It is a family-friendly affair with my family as well, being Star Wars. I would say aficionados, but more the old school, not necessarily the new school Star Wars. Just Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, and Empire Strikes Back.
No, Return of the Jedi is the greatest movie ever made. That's why I have two phones. I'm that guy. I have two work phones, and I've got Death Star 2 on the one phone, and then I've got the Battle of Death Star 2 on the back of the other phone. So that's I'm a Return of the Jedi, as the kids say, stan. That's what I am. So yeah, I'm a fan.
So if you're wondering, as we welcome you back in to wrap up the Fast Lane and wrap up our week's coverage of the ACC kickoff, we'll have more dropping. Fast Lane, Ed Lane, Facebook Live, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts later. But Ryan McGee of ESPN.com with us here in the Fast Lane. Ryan, we're going to also break protocol because why not on a Friday? This weekend, my guy Ty Gibbs versus everyone else's guy, Ty Dillon. And you have Ty Dillon tomorrow.
We have him on the show.
Yes, on Marty and McGee. Does he have a realistic chance, or am I looking at the different kind of championship that I always thought when I said Ty Gibbs was going to be a NASCAR champion?
Yeah.
I just didn't specify which one.
Well, it's interesting, too, with the in-season tournament because I honestly, and you know this, too, I covered NASCAR basically full-time forever. I mean, for like 15 years. And now I cover it part-time. You know, I go to Daytona, and I'll go to Martinsville, I'll go around. But I didn't even know, like I was so like Omaha College World Series focused. Like I was on a plane going, no, what is this thing? And then I felt better because Chase Elliott didn't understand it till they explained it to him. But no, but it's been exciting. It's been super exciting. And now this is what this thing should be, which is it's putting a spotlight on the two ties, right? I mean, these guys that probably we won't be talking about when we get to November, but we're talking about them now. And I'm in this weird place in my world where I remember when both those guys were born, right? I remember the first time I saw Ty Dillon, I went to, I think Kevin Harvick had won a race for Childress, and I went up for they always have the celebratory lunch or whatever, and I remember Ty Dillon being brought in like he was like 3 years old. And I literally remember when Ty Gibbs was born. Ty Gibbs' father was a great friend of mine, and so it's a little bizarre. I say all the time to my daughter, wisdom has nothing to do with being smart. It just means you're old. You've been around and seen everything. And so, yeah, I got these both. Yeah, but I think Gibbs is the guy. But I think Dylan's got a chance. He's got nothing to lose. Why not?
You know, you might get kicked off the fast lane for saying Ty Gibbs isn't going to be around when it comes to late November.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I think that when we get to the Final Four, and Ty Gibbs is going to be in the playoff, but when we get to the Final Four, we probably won't be talking about him. Perhaps when we get to Homestead or Phoenix or where we're going, when we get to the finale. I still call it home. I'm always going to call it
Homestead next year.
And I'm so glad. I know. I'm so excited about Homestead, and I'm so used to being Homestead. But he will be in the postseason. I think he'll make a late run into the postseason, but I don't know that he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to. Speaking of Virginia, I don't think he's going to beat Denny Hamlin when we get to the end of the year.
Well, there are a lot of people that are optimistic that it will. We don't use two words in the fast lane. One starts with a P, ends in a Y, and you may be thinking of one thing, but it actually is combining multiple bets because we don't recommend that. It's such a disadvantage if you're the betting type to do that. The other one is H, ends in an E, HOPE, because it's a dirty four-letter word in sports, at least for us. But you mentioned drivers. Denny fans have been anxious for it.
Yeah.
He's won at all sorts of different tracks. Did he show you something different? The way he won on old tires with the late race restart, and granted, if it's anyone else, although his teammate, he might have gotten knocked out of the way.
Right.
But that looked like a big boy victory at Dover on Sunday.
No, it was, and he knew it. I watched. In fact, I was in Oxford, Mississippi last night, and I watched. Happy Hour with Harvick, and Harvick had Denny on, and that's what they talked about. And Harvick obviously was the closer, right? And Harvick was like that. He said, Denny, that win looked different to me, and Denny's like, because it was. And so I think Denny Hamlin right now is playing with house money, right? He is a first ballot Hall of Famer by any measure. Speaking of Harvick, he's 58 wins, only 2 behind Harvick in the top 10 of all time wins. Which, by the way, talking about being old, I wrote a huge story. Denny Hamlin's de facto rookie year. Technically, he wasn't a rookie because he had too many starts the year before, but he made the chase his rookie year, won at Pocono and all that. And I did a story for ESPN the magazine where we're like, all right, what does the rookie do leading into the chase? And we wrote this whole story. He just bought his first house, and he just got a plane, all this stuff. If you'd have told me that guy right there, I knew he was going to have a great career. But if you'd have told me he's going almost 60 races and multiple Daytona 500s and will be a first ballot Hall of Famer, which he will be, and I'll vote for him, I probably would have told you no. I think he's going to have a good career, but I don't think he's going to have one of the greatest careers we've ever seen. But I think he is playing with house money because, just throw everything against the wall to win the championship. Why not? And if it works, great. You're already in the Hall of Fame. And if it works, you finally did it. And if it doesn't, whatever. You still have one of the greatest careers we've seen. And, oh, by the way, while you're suing NASCAR. It's the most fascinating driver that I can think of in the last decade.
But how different is it judging a driver of a championship caliber, a champion based on a championship now compared to the Mark Martin era? Because it's really a one-race shot. Example. I was looking at betting odds. Corey Haim's like -160 to win.
Right.
It's one race. If he bombs out or something goes wrong, and it's happened already, it could.
Yep.
So you're judging based on one race. Even if it was a 3-race battle for the championship, if you redid the playoffs, it would be different. Does that give Denny a different context than other drivers in terms of not having won?
Sure it does. To me, I always kind of refer to it as the Jeff Gordon factor. If they don't change the point system, I think Jeff Gordon has at least 6 championships. At least. But they changed the point system, and that benefited obviously the guy that he discovered in Jimmy Johnson. So but listen, Richard Petty says this to me all the time. Richard Petty won 7 championships, and I believe it was either under 5 or 6 different point systems. At one point, he won 4 championships in a row with 4 different point systems. And so what Richard Petty has always said was, listen, it changes. The way that it changes, you don't know what it's going to be. Your goal is to just run as fast as you can every Sunday. And at the end, well, did I win the championship or didn't I? And so, I think that you give Denny a pass in some way, but it also, he's been in that position so many times. I went to Homestead, I know twice, where I thought, well, who's going to win the championship? And didn't do it. And one time should have won it and had his car in the grass before the race hardly getting started. So there's always going to be the question of what could it have been. But yeah, I get your question. But it's but if he doesn't win one, all due respect to Mark Martin, who's a great friend, right now, and to me, it's always going to be the greatest driver that never won a championship who raced full time for a championship is Denny Hamlin. I think that argument's over.
Interesting. Now, threats to Denny Hamlin. We'll just automatically put Ty Gibbs in that because we're shameless like that in the fast lane. We know Hendrick is going to be a threat. We know that Penske is one near the end of the year.
Yep.
And we're chatting with Ryan McGee of ESPN.com. We'll get to college football in a moment, but NASCAR, you cover it, and you got Ty Dillon on, Marty and McGee on Saturday morning, so we're on the subject of that. Is the biggest, maybe untold threat right now, the driver that I was wondering, how did he land that ride? And now it's like, I see his teammate, Chase Briscoe.
Yes. No. And what's fun with Chase is watching him. Chase is one of those guys that kind of like a Joey Logano. We heard about Chase a long time ago. And obviously, if Tony Stewart thinks you're good, you must be pretty good. And now to see him, I think the answer is yes. Now, I think he's maybe the one that no one's talking about. It's funny. I feel like we have a lot of these guys. I feel that way about William Byron, who grew up right around the corner from where we're sitting in Charlotte. I certainly feel that way about Christopher Bell.
William Byron, Liberty University driver.
Right, but no one talks about him. And the reality is they're in the playoff every year, and they're, those guys we're talking about, they're in the Final Four every year. And so we're in this interesting time, and it's a cyclical sport, and we have these generational shifts, and we're in the middle of one of those right now. And it's so funny, right, because when Rusty Wallace and Jeff and, Mark and those guys were all done, it was, well, the sport will never be the same. And I can't pull for these guys. Well, then when Harvick and Kurt Busch and these guys, it'll never be the same. When Denny Hamlin retired, it'll never be the same. And 10 years from now, 15 years from now, we'll be saying this about Christopher Bell. We'll be saying this about William Byron. We'll be saying this about Chase Briscoe. So, yeah, I think Briscoe is not only a title contender now, I think he's set up for years to come.
I'm about to break one of the journalism 10 commandments with Ryan McGee of ESPN.com here in the fast lane because I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Yes or no? Have you seen the entire Dale Earnhardt documentary?
Oh yeah, no. I hosted the podcast on NASCAR.com, the Earnhardt podcast. I saw it. I saw it a month before anybody else did.
Well, then I got caught red-handed not promoting that podcast, which I now need to add to my collection for my drive back up to Lynchburg when we leave here. Tell me if this makes sense or not. The relatability part to me about that is my dad and his father and their generation. You always fought for your father's affection.
Right.
It almost parallels the Dale Jr. view of his dad, kind of mine with mine. I've got two 7-year-old boys. The difference is I'm blessed to say that my dad's still around, and I've gotten to see him evolve kind of like a deer learning to walk and show that affection, but at least the effort's there. It seemed like Dale Sr. was trying to figure that out and was just starting to come out of his shell, and then his life was taken, and we know Kelly, his daughter, never got the chance to really get over it, but Dale Jr., it was just barely starting. Is that a reasonable impression that that's one of the great mysteries of Dale Sr. is how would he have evolved to maybe distance himself from his upbringing, but also remember it and what made him great?
It's the story that I've wanted to write, and one day I will write it, which is it's the greatest what if in the history of American motorsports to me is how different would everything be, like not just with the Earnhardt family, but how different would NASCAR be if Dale Earnhardt, because Dale Earnhardt, I watched him do it. I started in the garage in the mid-'90s. 1996 was the first year I was on the road, like 20-plus races a year. And you're talking about, this is high holy Intimidator days, right? And Jeff Gordon versus Intimidator, and these were good days. But at that point in his life, if Dale Earnhardt walked into the NASCAR trailer and said, y'all are making a mistake, don't do this, the only person on planet Earth that could convince Bill France Jr. not to do something was Dale Sr. And so my question would always going to be all the things that have happened, whether it's the way that the schedule fell out, the way that the points were restructured, the way the chase is done, all those things, would they exist or would they exist like they are if Dale Earnhardt had been around? But I watched it with my own eyes, the way that Dale Earnhardt Sr. was working so hard to be a better father because he knew that he had not been good at it. And the first evidence of that was how he treated Taylor Nicole, which was his last child and his child with Teresa. who was still a little girl when her dad died. And we all remember, when the cut tire in 1990 when Derek Cope won, and we see Taylor Nicole crying because she was a year old at that point. But I texted as soon as I watched it, because I watched it a few weeks before it actually went up on Amazon. I texted Dale Jr. and I go, I don't know how you did that. I really don't know how he sat and talked about that. And I'll be honest with you, the Dale documentary that to me was kind of the gold standard for Earnhardt documentaries was in 2007. Paul Newman narrated it. I wrote that. So I'd worked on that one in 2007. And then in 2021, I helped direct a 1 hour E60 special about Dale Earnhardt because it was the 20th anniversary of his death. And Dale Jr. was very honest with us then about the conversation he had with his dad on the pit lane right before they got in their cars that morning. And it was the first time he thought, there it is. There it is. That's the dad I've been waiting on. And he didn't make it to the end of that day. And so, it's a tragedy by any measure, but I still cannot believe, and I've told Kelly this too, I cannot believe that Dale Jr. and Kelly and Carrie, everybody sat there and were so open and honest about how it was at the house. Because nobody likes to talk about how things are going at their house, good or bad. That's my deal. That's my private business. But for them to be as honest as they were, I was stunned. I was totally stunned. It was a gift is what it was.
Oh, it was. I loved it and relate to it. I've gone through personal challenges in my family, and being on the radio and in media and talking about it openly has helped me through that. But I hope it's helped other people from a relatability standpoint. And so that's what stood out to me about it. So we'll ask this, then we will get to football, and we won't take all your time, Ryan. The greatest what if of Dale Earnhardt Sr.? Is it the driver and what else he would have accomplished, or the owner, or is it the person that we got robbed of?
Yeah, and I think it's all the above, because I think the person that was changing, because again, even the way he treated us, the way he treated those of us that he didn't know that well. Like my mother passed away very unexpectedly in 1999, and the Intimidator was the Intimidator, man. When he walked in the room, everybody quit what they were doing. I've always said if there were 100 people facing the front of the room and he walked in the back door, everybody would turn around without him saying a word because the air just changed. It's like him, and like if you've ever been in a room with a sitting president of the United States, it just feels that way. Like it doesn't feel real. And when my mother passed away, came and found me to talk to me about it. I didn't even know he knew my name. And the advice he gave me that day, I've carried with the best advice I've received after my mother passed away. And it was about when his father had passed away in the 70s. And I shared that with Dale Jr., years later, when Dale and I were working on our book together. But the man was becoming very different, but was still just as driven. I don't think he was going to drive much longer. People think he would have raced till he was 60. I think he was 50 years old, early 50s. I think he was maybe 1 or 2 years. And then he was going to focus on owning Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. And it's, I'll always be curious to know. That's the biggest thing to me is what would Dale Earnhardt Incorporated have been? What would it be had he been there to run it? Because I think they would every bit be on par with, Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing. And, people forget, Joe Gibbs Racing, just that was built out of nothing in the 90s. And Dale Earnhardt Incorporated was going to do that same thing. And so that's what I'm always going to wonder is how many races, how many championships would Dale Earnhardt Incorporated have won, and would Dale Jr. have been the one that won the championship?
We could ask so many questions about that, and you're right. If you write the book, I cannot wait.
Yeah,
please.
One day. Yeah,
I am
day.
begging you to write the book.
Yeah.
Ryan McGee with us. So we will talk college football. I know we've teased it and promised it. You cover the SEC a lot, but you cover the ACC as well.
Sure. I grew up in the ACC, and I grew up in Raleigh. I grew up on Tobacco Road, and so I host a show on the SEC Network with Marty McGee, but I grew up a Tobacco Road guy.
Is this observation off base? I sat front row when Jim Phillips spoke Tuesday just to see how it all unfolded. Never done that before. At the beginning, he reads off a teleprompter. He stumbled like 5 or 6 times, and it's like this is where people think like not strong leader. The moment he gets into Q&As, he seems personal, relatable.
He is.
He's confident, but maybe not as brash as some people might be turned off by with other commissioners.
Right.
Is that a reasonable observation about him? He's more comfortable in those settings?
I think he's so good. Like when I just run into him in the hallway and we talk, or if I run into him on a sideline, and we talk, I think he's so smart. And I think that if people were able to experience that personally they would feel much better about it. But he also, I loved John Swofford, right? John Swofford, who was commissioner of the ACC forever, and honestly saved the conference. The conference was going to be absorbed by the Big East at one point, and John Swofford saved the league. And people knocked the media contract that the ACC has. If Swofford doesn't do that deal, which at the time was a groundbreaking deal, the ACC would have ceased to exist. But Phillips said something on Tuesday that harkened back to something that John Swofford said years ago. ACC kickoff was at Pinehurst, right?
I remember that.
Yeah, and I remember all the rumors were swirling that the Big East was going to raid the ACC and take half the conference, and it was going to be gone. And Swofford said the perception of our league would change overnight if we just won our week 1 cross-conference games, if we won our rivalry weekend, Thanksgiving weekend games. And he goes, and if we hadn't gone 1-9 in bowl games, or whatever it was that he said. And it's exactly what Phillips said on Tuesday, and he's right. The perception of weakness goes away if you just take care of your business. If Georgia Tech would finally beat Georgia, which they came close to doing everybody thought they were going to, if Clemson would beat South Carolina, if Louisville beats Kentucky, if they take care of if Florida State beats Florida, if they take care of their business on rivalry weekend and then have a good showing in the bowl games, the perception completely changes. Because the reality is, on paper, wasn't that bad. You had 2 teams in the playoff, and I just I like him a lot. That's a long way of saying, but I'm with you. I think he's still growing into the comfortability, if that's a word, of the gig, because he's so good off the cuff and he's so smart. I think it would be smarter for him just to roll with that as opposed to coming off a little robotronic sometimes.
What's more likely to happen in the infamous year of 2030 as we wrap up our chat with Ryan McGee today here in the Fast Lane? The ACC has half the conference go off and do their own football thing, and the other half, and there's a new ACC with schools from the AAC and the Conference USA and Sun Belt. Or is it more likely that we just get some type of super league of the best of the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC, and Notre Dame, and you're looking at just a different world?
The smartest, you're talking commissioners, the smartest collegiate administrator I've ever known in my life was Roy Kramer. And Roy Kramer was the commissioner of the SEC. He invented the conference championship game, went and found some NCAA rule about like Division II football. He invented conference divisions. He invented the BCS. And he told me almost 20 years ago that the Super League is coming and you can't stop it. And he said it might happen 10 years from now. It might happen 40 years from now. That's coming. He goes, there's nothing you can do to stop it. And it's because the only 2 giant pots of money that are out there is the football money, which everybody fights over all the time, but that basketball money is just sitting there. And the Super League wouldn't.
The Sports Betting Network. Welcome to Make It Rain with Adam Shine on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.